Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Clearview Daniel, rocking with my guy Heck on Just Another Podcast. Tune in.
Yeah, that's it right there. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I have a special guest on Just Another Podcast. I am just.hek. Tonight, joining me, I have Clearview Daniel, the IG handle, Daniel Badu, the son, the father, businessman, mentor, basketball coach, podcaster. The guy has many hats, man. But overall, he is a great human being. Definitely, this is a great guy, and really glad that he, wanted to tell his story. Daniel, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm great, man. I appreciate you having me. We go back a long way, so this means a lot right here.
Yeah, man, 10 years, man. At least, no, 11 years. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, like 2010. Yeah, 2010.
Yeah, man.
Crazy.
11 years. That's crazy because it's funny to think like that was literally 11 years ago. And it's like, wow, man. Like it's dope. I remember when I first met you, super tall, and you just had this great aura around you. Like I met you, I think our old boss introduced us. Judith.
Yeah.
Judith. Shout out to Judith. And she's like, hey, this is Daniel. And you just like, hey, what's up? My name's Daniel. And I'm like, oh shit, okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like your energy was just positive. And you were always, that always showed with you working with youth and just, I don't think I ever heard anyone say an unkind thing about you. Like you were just amazing. You were an awesome person to work with, awesome person to hang out with. I mean, we'll talk about, that one night. Maybe, I don't know if you want to talk about it. But, I just want people to be a G like, oh, there's a night out? Okay, yeah. It wasn't like The Hangover, y'all, but we saw my man Daniel in a spot. It was funny. I was looking at it like, oh shit.
Out my element, right?
It's like, yo, Daniel, we'll talk about it if you want to. But
yeah.
What's been going on, Daniel? How you been?
I'm great, man. Honestly, man, just getting through the pandemic, I feel like it gave me a mental rebirth, I feel like it's my first time since really like 2006, since around the time I graduated high school, where, I got to sit down and just like recalculate everything with my life and just chill and just learn to appreciate life and everything around me. So mentally, I'm in a great space right now. I feel great. I'm healthy. I'm alive. I'm here talking to you, talking to a great friend.
That's right.
I feel great, man. I can't complain.
Oh, that's what's up. Definitely. So, as always, when I have a guest on, I like to ask about like their growing up and what that was like. So you're from the Bronx, right? Where you from in the Bronx?
I grew up in Parkchester.
Yeah. Okay. That's right up the block from Castle Hill and St. Anthony's and all that, right? Yeah,
I used to play ball over there. I was over there all the time. Castle Hill.
There you go. Yeah, I'm familiar. I used to live around there. Growing up, Daniel Badu, what was that like growing up?
Oh man. I'll say this. I used to say it one way, or answer that question one way. Looking at it now, I think I was born into a life of adjustment, Okay. But now I look at it different because, I was born into a life where my mother had moved to America from Ghana. She stayed in the UK, came to New York, had some situations where, you know, she lived in Grand Concourse. Anybody knows Grand Concourse? Back in the 80s and in the 90s, it wasn't the best place to live. So, you know, she'll probably hate me telling this story, but, you know, I love you, Ma. But she got mugged or approached 3 times in a row. You know, one time before she was pregnant with me, the second time she was pregnant with me, and the third time I was literally a baby right upstairs on 167th at my uncle's house. She goes to the store, dude pulls a knife on her, something tells her to run. She runs literally out of her shoes down to the train. You know, she was scared to come out after that. That was the third time. So I tell the story to say that because of that, we moved to Canada, right? First adjustment.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know. I lived in Canada for a year. I was a year. We came back when I was 2. We lived with a pastor and his daughters for about 6 years. So from the time I was 2 to 8, from 1989 to 1995, you know, we stayed with a pastor and his wife. Grew up in church there. I thought the four daughters of his were my sisters. So I knew what sibling life was like.
Yeah.
And you know, my mother did an amazing job because it's weird. We lived there, but then she was still trying to find a place, still raising me as a son, still going to work. She did great. I fell in love with basketball, and she still found a way to, you know, make time for me, make time for things that I like, whether it be basketball games, you know, et cetera. So finally, we moved into our own spot in 1998. And I say all this because that was my introduction. That world of adjustments, everything she went through caused us to, you know, live in a space where it was a little uncomfortable, wasn't our own. And by 1996, we were able to get our own, and it was like a championship for me. I remember looking around like, wow, man. Because what I didn't tell you is after we left there, we lived in about 2 other homes with other people because she was her whole goal was like to try to do what she had to do to get us our own spot. So we had to stay with so-and-so. If I had to stay with my aunt, cool, we're going to do that for this season or 2 seasons. And then boom, we're going to get our own. So when we got our own, it was like a championship. And I appreciate her for that. Those first 9 years, like, I never forgot it, you know?
Right.
It taught me that you could be young, but you're very vigilant of what's going on. You're very aware. And I tell her about it now. Mama, I remember this. I remember you were crying when I seen you. Remember that day I seen you? And she'll say, I wasn't crying. And I'm like, you think that I didn't know that you weren't crying? But I knew, but I want to let you know I appreciate it. So, yeah, growing up young was full of adjustments, man. Just so many adjustments, but it prepared me for the future, especially like a pandemic.
Wow, I hear you. Wow, I didn't know Canadian Daniel.
For 1 year, yep, they had me.
International Daniel. That's what we're gonna call you from now on. International Daniel. That's what should be your handle, not Clearview Daniel. International
Daniel.
Wow, that's insane. So, can I ask you, you know, about your father? Like, did you know was he present during this time, or what was going on? Because
he was not. So they, you know, that's a whole nother long story as far as like how he, you know, left or whatever. But I remember I was going to the YMCA, right, from 2nd grade to 5th grade, and my mother, she worked at Marriott Hotel on the Lower East Side, and the YMCA was in the Bronx. So she was always the last parent to pick me up, right? YMCA was like 2:30 to 6. She would get me at 6:30. You know, the lady was cool about it. And so with that, I would see every combination of getting picked up. What does that look like? A mother picking up their son, a father picking up their daughter, a mother and father picking up their son and daughter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'll never forget it. I think I was in 3rd grade, right? Up until this point, I never thought about my father, right? I seen a mother like kind of hold her son, and I smiled. That was my friend. I'm like, okay, my mother's gonna come. I'm gonna get that same hug. That's dope, you know? Then a father picked up his son and did like the airplane thing, you know, spin him around. Yeah. And that was the first time at like 7, 8 years old, I sat there like, damn, why don't I have that? What's up with that? And it hit me like all these TV shows I'm watching, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know, Family Matters, all the dads. It dawned on me like, damn, why don't I have a dad? What's going on here? So that's the first time I went home and asked like, Mom, do I have a dad? Like, where's my dad? So long story short, you know, on their side, I guess she reached out to him. He came and he took us to Toys R Us. I'm sure they had their grown-up conversation, but to me, I just felt like I was in heaven. I was in Toys R Us.
Of course.
So I remember looking. I was in the aisle. He said, "Get what you want." I remember looking at the toys and stuff, and I peeked over at them, and I seen them walking and talking, and I felt like, man, I don't know where this man has been, but I'm glad like this is a new start, right? Mm-hmm. I had no idea I wouldn't see him for like literally 21 years from that point. That was the last time I saw him for 21 years. But yeah,
Wait, so how old were you when you did that again?
When I saw him?
To Toys R Us? Yeah. In Toys R Us, how old were you?
The day I saw him, I was 8. I was 8 years old.
So you didn't see him till you were 29, till you was 29 years old?
What's 2015? 28. So it's 20 years. 28 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How'd you feel about that? Like, what was your...
Initially, as a child, you feel kind of rejected, confused. You know, you're like, man, is there something wrong with me? Like, what is it? Especially when I was 10 years old and my brother was born, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this child, my little brother, and I'm just like, how do you leave this? You know? Yeah. And I'm a 10-year-old kid, forced to grow up quick. My mother has to work a lot, so yes, she's taking him to the babysitter and all that, but I'm watching my brother a lot. And I'm always looking at this child like, how do you leave this? So was there something about me? Was there something wrong with him? And when I became a teenager, I accepted it. I was like, you know what? I don't know what his deal was. There was a little resentment at first, but I'm like, you know, it is what it is. I said my mom loved me as much as a father and mother combined could. So that kind of filtered out his absence for me.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. That's dope. That's dope. Yeah, it's funny because again, we spoke a little off camera, but a lot of the guests on this show come from single parent homes.
Yeah.
Either through divorce or separation or death, and so it's amazing to see a lot of you guys, men and women, overcome these circumstances early on, because it's hard when you only have one parent.
Yeah.
That one parent has to be everything. But I can't really speak for my parents, but you're the people I've interviewed, they held it. You guys had great parents. Your parents held it together and were strong throughout all the adversity. So I tip my hat to your mom, because she raised an awesome person, man.
If I can say this one thing real quick. Mm-hmm. What I did in my father's absence, it might sound weird, but I kind of adopted a lot of other fathers. Mm-hmm. through entertainment, sports. So what I did was fell in love with basketball, right? I took Michael's competitiveness, because in second grade I fell in love with basketball, which is a whole nother story. Then I mentioned Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Family Matters. Yeah, Uncle Phil, Carl.
Yeah.
I love those shows. So I would watch Carl talk to Eddie and teaching life lessons and all that. And at first it was just TV. It's something that he told his son. Then when it became relatable, I'm like, wow, I just learned something. So in a way, it was like I had these TV dads, right, that installed certain things in me, like peer pressure. I remember there was an episode about Eddie having to fight some bully to stand up for Steve Urkel, and he went and talked to his dad about it. Yeah. And I went through something, kind of similar, because I got teased. And the advice I was given, I kind of took that like, okay. And from that point, I would watch it, yes, for entertainment, but also to inherit the lesson, to learn. So, I did that over time, and it just kind of shaped and molded me to where I didn't even notice his absence at some point. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's how that went down.
No, definitely. I mean, you adapted, and, you didn't let it hold you back, because some people, there are people that go through life and they would take that situation, but it's also too, you were guided. You had a strong figure in your life. You had your mom, who was very strong. So, a lot of times when people were dealing with the adversity that you've gone through, they follow the lead of who's with them,
Right.
And, so, your mom did a very good job with you. She held you down, and you were able to look at her and be like, wow, if she's going through all this and she's still doing her thing, I can still do my thing. I don't have an excuse.
Absolutely.
That's dope.
Absolutely.
So in terms of, so you do, well, when I met you, we were working at a place called Grand Street Settlement. You were into, like, you were the after school counselor, stuff like that. And then later on, like, you went into mentoring youth and stuff like that. When did you know that was something that you wanted to do?
Grand Street. It was really good. All right, so to backtrack, again, it goes back to the YMCA, right? I fell in love with basketball in second grade, and there were certain guys that were like mentoring me. I'll never forget this guy named Mr. Rufino, right? And he would talk to me about stuff that nobody else would talk to me about, on the side. And then I would like, we have free time, and I would like shoot around by myself. I was kind of Kawhi-like. I wanted to be alone.
Yeah.
I didn't want nobody to bother me. And I remember I had played one-on-one with this kid, and I went at her. Like, he was like a mirror image of me. Like, the same way I played, the same moves I had, he had. But he's probably a little better than me, to be honest, right? And he pulled me to the side, and he goes, man, like, I need to put you on my team. Like, the way you attacked him. Right. And I just never forgot the messages that he put in my ear when I didn't expect that from anybody. So fast forward, I was looking for a job after I graduated high school. I actually took a break after I graduated. People go straight into college. I took a year off to just figure out what I really wanted to do. And my mom kept saying, why don't you talk to Ms. Rosemary and get a job at the YMCA? I'm like, I don't know. So finally, I just went there. I did it. I volunteered for 3 months without pay. I showed up from literally Halloween of 2005, and I got hired like January 27th of 2006. I'm weird with dates, so you gotta excuse me.
Oh, this is dope.
I got hired that day, so I worked in the YMCA under this lady named Miss Sarah Thompson, amazing lady, who led me to Judith. And I was soft with the kids. They ran over me. Too nice. I was soft. She purposely put me with a lady who put the battery in my back to have a little toughness. Then I came to Grand Street. I met you there. And then they reminded me of myself, man. It was weird. I was like 23 when I came to Grand Street, working with kids that are like as old as 18, 19 years old. But they reminded me of myself. A lot of them didn't have fathers too. Yeah. A lot of them wanted to go at me in basketball, so I had to teach them lessons. You saw some of it.
Yeah, definitely did.
You know. And I would teach them a lesson, and they would come ask me, like, hey, how'd you do that? Like, when you fake left, how'd you? And I'll sit down and talk to them, and I'll ask them questions, like, hey, everything cool with your family? Everything good at home? Yeah, I just don't have a father, and it bothers me sometimes. So I was able to say, like, hey, man, listen, I didn't either. I turned out, pretty decent. I think you'll be even better than me. And it just felt good. Naturally, it felt good. So I felt like that was something that, I just fell in love with naturally. I felt like I would do it without a paycheck. So if you don't pay me for that, then that's a win, I just really liked it. It felt good. And I just kept doing it really in Grand Street and outside of Grand Street, within the Department of Education and stuff like that. It just felt good to be the voice for them that I had missing in my life, except for coaches and stuff like that.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's really dope. So you basically took a year off from high school.
Yeah.
Went into, you did the after school stuff. What are you doing now in terms of work with your career?
Right now, the Department of Education. I just always got to be involved with kids, man.
Of course.
Department of Education, entrepreneurship. So I was with a company for 7 years that introduced me to entrepreneurship, that it opened my mind to a lot. It revealed a lot to me. I didn't know I could lead people. And I had to lead people all over the country, drive to other cities or fly to other cities and teach strangers and mentor strangers and wow, like I can do this. So, I'm into the entrepreneur world. I have some stuff that's still in the works that I can reveal. Hopefully if we have a second episode of this.
Definitely will. definitely.
But just entering that world, it really opened my eyes, and it's just been a blessing. What else? I'm involved with a Fatherhood Initiative program that
Nice.
I was approached about. I was like, me? But there's a guy named Gerald Blount. He's absolutely amazing. He approached me. He asked me to work with him on it. He felt like I was genuine, and he just liked my headspace about how I approach fatherhood. And we started working together. We had plans to really start moving from like New Orleans and Oklahoma City, but the pandemic hit, so that kind of we took a hit with that. We can get things up and running with that very soon.
Okay.
And the podcast that we got going.
What do you do with the Department of Education?
Paraprofessional.
Okay. What is that? Because I always want to know. I'm like, I know you have a job. I know you have.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's kind of like a teacher's assistant in a sense. With me, I'm responsible for like behavior management with the class and the students and stuff like that. It's actually really cool. I had heard about it, but I was like, man, I don't want to be no teacher assistant. When I saw that I can get close to kids and still kind of mentor them a little bit, it was an avenue. I was like, okay, I could look into this right here. So,
what population do you work with? Like, are they like special needs, or is it just?
Yeah, I got District 75. I mean, I started off in general education, but I got tired of literally seeing textbooks thrown over my head because they want to fight at each other.
Oh my God.
Listen, man, for anybody that worked in Evander,
Wow.
it was some days. I got stories for days, but
wow.
But with working with District 75, initially it scared me. I was like, man, I don't know. It's very uncomfortable. I've never done nothing like this. But it's another eye opener. Like, wow, you see what some kids are going through. You see what parents have to go through. You communicate with the parent. And it opened my eyes like Grand Street did, just trying something new, seeing how I fit in, seeing how I can impact, seeing how I can use my voice. And, it's something for now until that entrepreneurship, goes to the next level that I wanted to go to. So
I'm pretty sure it will. I'm pretty sure it will, man. I think with your years of experience with the company, I remember you was telling me about the company you was working before.
Yeah.
You was doing some really dope things with them. And you're also a podcaster. Obviously, you're on what's the name of the show?
It's called Basketball Only. It was this great brother of mine named Hector who approached me about it, Oh, snap. I didn't even
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to the Basketball Only crew.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Ryan Fallon, E Legend, you, of course. And I know you definitely. It's funny because you have the Knicks allegiance, but you're also a Laker fan. So.
Oh, let's talk about
it. So.
I can tell you how that happened.
Yeah, so definitely, tell us, how did you become a Knicks fan? But they're doing really great right now, by the way. There's nothing wrong, They're four-game winning streak, and it looks like you might be able to pull Zion to the Big Apple soon, but that's hearsay.
Yeah. So the Knicks fan happened. I mean, I started watching basketball. My first game was the last game Jordan wore number 45.
Oh, okay.
That was the first game I ever saw. I remember coming from church. My mom, I believe she took we went to a family house. I don't know if they were having a gathering.
It was against Orlando.
It was against Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a bunch of dudes. I went to a Ghanaian church. I'm from Ghana. And a bunch of, dudes from Ghana, drinking beer, watching this game, yelling at the TV. So I'm looking at TV like, what the heck are they watching? I see Michael Jordan, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's the guy from the commercials.
That's right, yeah.
And I actually, the first play I saw, believe it or not, was when Nick Anderson and them knocked the ball out of his hand, and they went Horace Grant, dunked it. Game, right? And at that point, I had just started playing ball in gym class, and I was falling in love with shooting the ball going through the net.
Yeah.
And so it paralleled the same exact week. And I started watching the Bulls, but then being from New York, I saw the Knicks more on MSG, and I fell in love with those Knicks, man. They were just tough. They represented our city, gritty. They weren't underdogs, but they were underdogs because the Bulls are always the overachievers and all that stuff. So I fell in love with the Knicks. The Lakers happened because this is the weird one. I as a kid, you have certain allegiances to certain shows.
Yeah.
I like the show Moesha, right?
Okay.
Kobe Bryant was dubbed the next Jordan. He was fresh out of high school, about to enter the draft. And I remember he took Moesha or Brandy to the prom.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like he took my sister, my TV sister. So when I heard he was going to the Lakers and I seen his highlights, I'm like, oh, he's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then I was a big Penny and Shaq fan. So Shaq had just left from Orlando to go to the Lakers. And I liked Nick Van Exel's game. So when they put that team together, and I started watching, I was like, nah, I rock with the Lakers.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward years later, when the Knicks started losing in like 2001, 2002, they kind of forced you to adopt another team. And I already liked
that. I mean,
I already had like the Lakers, so they were always my two teams.
Although I was the lone Phoenix Suns fan, I low-key always rooted for the Knicks because growing up, when you have a New York team in the playoffs, the city's alive. You know what I'm saying? Like this, like, yo, like we about to get a chip. It's something. It's in the air, and there's nothing better. If I lived in Phoenix, it'd be what it is. But I live in New York, and so if the Knicks if they make it to the championship, I'm definitely I'm rooting for them because I'm from New York, and yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the basketball only segment. All the non-basketball heads.
But definitely. So, so how's that been? But what you seem to enjoy yourself, but what were your thoughts like?
Well, first of all, when you first invited me, man, I got to tell you, I appreciate that because again, you made me realize a lot again. You brought me to the studio and it was a different experience, seeing the cameras behind the scenes when you did the first show before we did the podcast.
Yeah.
And finishing with that and feeling like, wow, this was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So when you approached me, it was the timing was it was a lot of confusion, not about what you approached me about, just in general, because we just hit the pandemic.
Yes,
a lot of confusion in the world. You're like, man, what's happening right now? And you called me. I see your name on my phone. I pick up right away because
I appreciate that.
We got that vibe, man. And you talked to me about the idea. And to me, the question was like, man, I don't know. It's like, I appreciate that he's considering me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Could I really, could I podcast though? Like, but I felt like, why not? Why not give it a shot and at least take the shot and know if it was going to go right through or miss. And I think it was just the cohesiveness, like you said, man. E Legend is our Stephen A.
Yeah.
Mine can be our like calm skip.
Yeah.
I can be in the middle, as you said. And you're kind of like, you moderate us and, you kind of set the tone sometimes. Or but when to get rowdy. You get rowdy in a calm way. For example, I'm a Lakers fan, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Daniel, how do you feel about LeBron, 12 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists, and in that blowout? And I'm like, listen, that's your way of getting me. You don't gotta yell or get us like, well, but and then doing it during the pandemic because I feel like, we don't say it enough. We needed that, all of us.
Yeah.
I look forward to getting on a podcast because, we couldn't really go outside like that. We were all locked up, locked down, and it was just a release. It felt good. There's basketball still going on at that time, and we just didn't know what was next. So it opened a door for me mentally, and now it's just second nature where we just have that, that camaraderie right now. So I appreciate you again for that, man.
Nah, no doubt. I appreciate you joining, man, because you've definitely been a great addition to the podcast. So, definitely, people check out Basketball Only podcast. It's a great show, great people there, you know, and it's real fans, you know. So, nah, man, it's so, you know, we touched on you growing up. We touched on, you know, you career wise and going through that. Touched on your hobbies, you know, basketball fetish, you know. You're a family man too, you know, and
Oh yeah.
you know, you're a father, and you have two beautiful children who happen to be
Right.
twins. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, man, it's crazy because you know, me and the queen, their mama, me and the queen, you know, we talked about kids. First of all, we go back from high school, and then, you know, fast forward, you know, we talked about kids, and then everybody around us at one point, 2014, 15, 16, 17, all of our friends were having kids, and you start to wonder, like, man, when am I going to be a father? It's going to happen. And for me, it was really like a goal. For some people, it kind of just happens, you know, seeing how my dad and me ended up. I wanted to, you know, have the opportunity to be there for mine. So for me, it was like a championship again. So find out that she's pregnant, and then to go from that to its twins. And, you know, and the way I found out, it's like, wait, what? Because honestly, she went for a general checkup, right? And the lady shows her the machine, but she's like, I think the lady thought that she knew that she had twins, right? So she's like, all right, baby A, baby B. She's like, excuse me? Wait, what are you looking at? Show me that. And she records it and sends it to me. So I thought it was a prank or something. I'm like, nah, I ain't falling for this. But I mean, fast forward, man, it's been the biggest blessing. I mean, I feel like reborn again through them. I feel like you cannot describe the love of parenthood. I learned through myself through them. I learned about kids developing and just what it's like to be present, you know. And it's funny, my mother used to always tell me how her father died when she was 3, right?
Wow.
And ignorantly, very ignorantly, I used to say, well, Mom, the only good news, at least you don't remember anything. You know, you were 3, so you probably don't remember nothing. And now I'm seeing how wrong I am. Because my kids are going to be 2 in a month, right? And the level of love and how close we are, and how, you know, they say die whether I'm here or not. Like you can get a picture of the love they might have had, and how wrong I am for saying that, you know, at least you forgot or you don't remember, because the love was there, whether she remembers it or not. It was there, and she had to, you know, maybe spiritually let that go.
Right.
So yeah, I realized you can bond a lot faster than you think. I always thought, like, you know, when you turn 4 or 5 and you start remembering, no, these kids are attached.
No, definitely.
I feel like I was taught that lesson on the other side, like 25 semi years ago as a kid, because again, my mother was working and doing all she can, trying to find us a spot and making it happen, but she still found time to put all these books in my hand. And because of her, like, I got mad if I got a 90 on a spelling test.
Oh,
can you believe that? Like, kids were, no, seriously, like we had like 20 back then, 25, 30 kids in the class. Kids were getting mad because they failed the test. I was getting mad because I had a 90. Like, what I'm saying? She got me in a spelling bee. What else? Yeah, like I knew big words because I was reading books. Then I started reading a dictionary at one point, just learning new words. I remember I was in like 4th grade and I said a big word, like I forgot the word. It was a big word, and the teacher looked at me like, "Can you say that word again?" I said it again, and to me it was like, "What's the big deal? What's her deal?" Like,
yeah.
And the kids were all looking at me. Some looking at me like, "Yeah, whatever," and some like, "How'd you know that?" But it was normal to me, all because of her.
Right.
So fast forward to now, I remember stuff like that, and it's like, okay, I see what she did. Even though she was busy and she had her hands tied, she found a way to put these books in my hand to where I wasn't just looking for Clifford the dog on TV. I wanted the book first. And then reading the books made me go want to watch the show. Most people do it the other way around, you know, which is cool. But for me, I had to read the book, and then it made me want to watch the show. And by the time watching TV, which they said was bad for you, I already had all these vocabulary words in my head, like determined in third grade. People looking at you like, how you know what determined is? Oh, because Clifford was determined to get in the house, even though he was too big to get, stuff like that.
Right.
So, that's to your point. I think about that now, being a parent, knowing that these girls are going to be that age and, starting to, put the book in their hand and, watch how they develop as far as like vocabulary and understanding and stuff like that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, I look at you with your family, with your daughters, and it's an awesome thing, man. You definitely keep up the great work with that.
I appreciate you, man.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Anything else I'd like to add?
No, is there any announcements you want to bring up, or do you want to save it for the next show? Or
well, I'll say we're definitely there's some stuff coming out for my daughters that will be released soon. We're definitely excited to bring that out. I ain't gonna say too much on it, names and all that, but I'll touch more on that on the next time. Of course, if Hector gives me the invite.
Oh no, you definitely will. You definitely will. Definitely will.
Other than that, man, it's great to come across people like yourself. And I started the show by saying that my life has been a life of adjustments. And from like 2006 so like now it's been about connection. I met my boss who led me to Judas, who led me to friends like you. We were able to meet people that you had on here like Lewis and Coach Sam and guys like that who are also awesome in their community and their business and their life, so I say it's a pleasure having a friend like you, and I pray that every friend or every guy or woman comes across a genuine person like yourself, so I appreciate you always, my brother.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. Seriously, I feel, that you being a part of my network, like I had to, being an awesome person like you, know what I'm saying? It's just, I knew there was a story. It's just when do I ask that, in between you mentoring kids, like, yo, I know you're teaching this kid how to read right now, but what was it like growing up? You know what I'm saying? or we would go hang out and, in between drinks, like, hey, I know we're about to take this shot, but
don't forget that story, by the way. I don't mind.
How's your mom? Like, what was it like? What was your mom like growing up? Like, you can't ask that stuff like during.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was one of those things where I just felt like when I set out to do this, I had a core list of people, and I was like, I'm gonna get to these people first, and then after that, I'll start branching out even more and stuff. So, and I've had people like reach out to me to like do stuff, like to be a part of the podcast, and I'm like, I got to get through my people first. You know what I'm saying? And so in September when I restart, because next month I'm gonna do like the last 2 or 3 shows, and then I'm just gonna I take June off for myself, and then July, August, I'm kind of like running around,
I wouldn't have had it no other way though, because I got to see all the other stories, man. Like even Lewis and how he started Vivas Beachy. I love that story.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed he got it from a movie and had to condense the name. I rock that shirt too. I got his stuff too. And Coach Sam's story, just hearing about his upbringing and how he went, saw college was an opportunity, and being in his community, coming from other communities and realizing what was out there, So I wouldn't have had it no other way, sitting back, watching the other shows and hearing the other stories, and like, wow, I can relate to that, or I can't relate to that. I don't know how she and he did that, but inspiring to hear where people came from and where they are now.
Definitely. You guys had great moms. You guys had great mothers, man. It's something that, I say that, and there's a reason why I say that. And, it's just, I grew up, in foster care. So, when I say, I look at you guys and, you had one, at least, what I'm saying? And so I look at that and, hearing Coach Sam tell me that his mom took him to the basketball court to try to teach him how to play basketball because, that's just her trying, or you with your mom trying to protect you and provide, Lewis, his mom bringing him from DR and, trying to, make sure he learns English so he could start school and putting him in the right situation. Those are amazing things. And you had amazing moms around you guys. You had strong people.
Absolutely.
And that's the reason why you guys are the way you are. So, I tip my hat to you guys, moms, and you got, you in itself, because this podcast is about you. This show is about you, particularly. You're an awesome person, and I don't think anything you do won't be successful. You know what I'm saying? So
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no doubt. So, if there's nothing else, check out my man's page, Clearview Daniel. He's got some stuff coming out soon. Stay tuned to this gentleman. He's been Clearview Daniel. I've been Just Heck. This has been Just Another Podcast, episode 15. We out of here. Peace. Have a great night. Stay safe. Stay COVID free. Stay hater free, and wherever else free. Yeah. Take care.